Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Eat Well, Be Well Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Grunwald. I'm a registered dietitian at Meridian, and I have a guest with me today, Sarah Jewett. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Thanks for joining. You have so much experience today. We're talking about feeding babies. So when we start adding foods and then feeding toddlers, which is a whole nother story. So you are a care manager. You're also a registered nurse. You are also a mom of two.
Yes.
And you have had experience as a WIC participant and working at WIC.
Yes. So thank you for having me. I am very appreciative of this opportunity to talk about my experience and the wonderful resources that are available. So I, like many WIC moms, had an unplanned pregnancy when I was younger, and I went into WIC not really having a clear idea of what it was. Just knowing that's what you do when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
And I, got a lot of nutritional resources, but also they connected me to additional resources that I didn't know existed. So one of them was Healthy Families of Illinois, which was a home visiting program at the time. And they really helped me to kind of get my life together. I, at the time was not a nurse. I had not gone to school, hadn't even started school. And so they helped me with like goal setting, getting organized, figuring out how to even start the process of going back to school and becoming a nurse, as well as goal setting for my son. So we could work on his developmental milestones through care management. So it is a really wonderful program, and I very much encourage people to seek it out. If you're ever pregnant or you have an infant or young children, it's important for the Meridian members to know, like if your child is on Medicaid, if you're on Medicaid, if your child's in youth care, all of those are going to be eligible for WIC. So you don't have to like question if it's worth it to go in or if you should find out, like just go in because you will be eligible and you'll be able to get, those services that a lot of kids need.
Yeah. I mean, I had no idea that it covered that many services, but it's amazing to hear that at any point. So even if this has kind of just been on your to-do list, or you're like, I've heard about this benefit, that you can establish that connection. You're eligible. You can get these nutrition, education, access to food, connection to other resources. There's so much more than just kind of going to the appointments. But speaking of those appointments, what does that first appointment look like? So if I'm either pregnant or I've got a really young kiddo and I go to the office, what would I expect there?
Yeah, so the first time you go in when you're pregnant or with your baby or child up to the age of 5 is when WIC ends. They will do like a short health assessment. And a lot of times those are areas where we catch things that might have fallen through the cracks otherwise. So there were quite a few women who were pregnant or postpartum, and we caught like really high blood pressure and were able to get them to a hospital before anything bad happened. We were able to get that treated. And then a lot of times also referring kids to early intervention. Sometimes you might miss a well visit because you have to work. And paying the bills is really important. So you can put food on the table and keep a roof over people's heads. So getting those developmental screenings that happen at the WIC office are very important for making sure that kids are getting the services they need.
Yeah, I love that this is rather than always feeling like another chore or an appointment, it's really another point of access or another support kind of unit or person that I can go to, because life does get busy when you've got little kids around and you're trying to juggle schedules. You're, past the newborn phase, you're back at work or you're back in a routine. It can all pile up pretty quickly.
I know Meridian will provide transportation to get you to the WIC office.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that we want to really overcome. Any barrier that is going to prevent you from being able to get the services you need, we want to help you with that.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about maybe around when baby is 6 months or so, we're going to start thinking about introducing foods. Before 6 months, baby is only getting breast milk or formula mixed with water. How do we know baby's ready for food?
Yeah. So some developmental points that you want to make sure are there. Baby needs to be sitting up. and have very good head control. Baby can't sit up or they're really wobbly. Their head's kind of bobbling around. You want to wait a little while. You're also looking for baby to be be able to bring food to their mouth. So you will see that when you give them toys. If you want to give them like one of the little baby spoons to practice with, that's another good way. They can use that as a teether. And it'll also help to tell you when it's ready. And then the last one is they're going to start taking an interest in food.
Oh, yeah.
They are going to start really looking at when somebody has food, they're going to be watching it like laser focused, following that food.
Opening and closing their mouth, following it around. Yeah, it
Sometimes
gets a little bit funny.
Trying to take a dive for it themselves when you have it in your hands. So yeah.
Yeah. So we'll start out and some of the WIC foods are going to match this progression as well, but we're going to start out with like puree or really soft, mushy foods. And you can just use regular foods at home like banana or cream of wheat or mashed potatoes, other soft foods like that, really well-cooked things. And that's a good place to start. What are some other foods on the WIC approved list that work with those kind of soft purees?
Yeah, so with WIC, for babies between 6 and 12 months, they will get purees. Starting at 9 months, you do have the option to substitute some of those for a fruit and vegetable voucher. So you can get them started on some table foods. And we recommend really, we talk to parents about trying to make sure you have things that are cooked. So you're not going to want to just give them like an apple. You're going to want to do like green beans or peas that are steamed. You're going to do baked potatoes that are kind of mashed up so that babies, when they're learning to chew, are able to manage that easily without, having it be a choking hazard or anything like that.
Yeah, and they are going to have a lot of kind of spitting out or like you're going to see a lot of food coming out of their mouth. So it's not always successfully going in, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, just like any other skill, nobody hopped on a bike for the first time and just rode right away. Eating is the same thing. They're going to try and put it in their mouth. They're going to miss. They're going to push it back out with their tongue because they're not quite used to how to move their tongue or how to chew on it. And just continuing to be encouraging and continuing offering. Don't take them pushing it out of their mouth as them saying they don't want it. It's just a learning experience. So making sure you're meeting all those efforts with a lot of positivity so that they're feeling good about it. Because if we're reacting in a way that feels nervous or on edge or like we don't like something, babies will pick up on that and they'll take our cues. So it's important that we really are encouraging when we're offering new foods.
Yeah. And some of the foods that we talked about, we're first offering kind of single foods, really simple. We're not adding a lot of, flavors or mixtures to it. Part of that is to be cautious for an allergic reaction, right? So if you have an allergy concern, like someone in your family has an allergy, then you'll talk to your doctor about that introduction. But if we don't have an allergen concern, we're adding some of those foods in one at a time and then repeating it. What are some reactions we might be looking for just to kind of know if we need to call the doctor?
Yeah, so if a child is going to have a bad reaction to a food, typically it's going to be either a rash or some diarrhea, potentially vomiting. If you do have family allergies that run in the family, I do encourage talking to the pediatrician before introducing that and having a plan in place. But for the most part, yeah, if the baby develops a rash or there's some vomiting or diarrhea or anything, make a note of what the food is, contact the pediatrician, and then they'll help you develop a plan from there. And until you do, just make sure you're not offering that food again.
Yeah. And then with the WIC vouchers, is there adjustments as well for allergens? Or like, let's say a kiddo needs a special formula or there's some other special kind of needs going on. What would that look like?
Absolutely. So WIC does have, let's say you have a cow's milk allergy. We do have specialized formulas that are available for that. They will get a prescription from the doctor for an infant and they'll get the specialized formula that they need. If once the child is over the age of 1 and would be transitioning to cow's milk, we would just give them soy milk instead, which nutritionally is very similar.
Yeah.
And then, there's additional things like if you have a peanut allergy, there's an option without peanut butter. If you have an egg allergy, you get a different type of food instead of the egg. So there are a lot of different ways that WIC tries to work with people to meet their needs where they're at. if you were to have a special needs child or a child with a lot of food allergies who maybe needed to be on a specialized formula past infancy, WIC provides that as well.
Okay.
And additionally, they can work with outside services through like DHS or other organizations to continue to meet those additional nutritional needs that that child might have due to, developmental concerns or other health issues that they might have. So they do a good job of really trying to accommodate kids with whatever their need might be.
I'm sure that's such a relief too for the parents to have the nutritionist access, to be able to go to those appointments, take kiddo with them, get some of that feedback on site at the WIC appointments of just how do I apply these benefits, or how do I feed this kid who's got all of these kind of lists to keep track of. Okay, how about those toddlers when, as my 2-year-old says, food is yucky? Yeah. What do we do we're going to talk next about picky eating, or it's sometimes called food jags. Okay. What do you do as a mom? I mean, you've got experience. I can talk about some of mine, but what do you do when your kid is like, I don't want it?
Okay. So the number one thing I say is, like, you as a parent have to role model that behavior. We can't take the attitude of do as I say, not as I do, because kids are not going to do that when it comes to food. So when I was introducing foods with my first child and now again I have a 6-month-old, so we're just starting that journey again. I made it a point to eat foods that I don't like, that I don't normally eat. In particular, like seafood, I really don't like. The texture, the smell, and it's not for me. But I made a point to really eat it and really pay attention to what my face was doing when I was eating it, so that I could encourage my child to try it with an open mind. I did not want to pass on any of my pickiness to my child. I wanted him to develop his palate all by himself. And I found that is probably the most important thing that you can do as a parent is just role modeling it, bringing in foods that maybe you don't eat most of the time. It's a great time to just go to the grocery store and be like, oh, I haven't tried that before. I haven't brought that in the house,
Yeah, I know for us, when we were trying to figure out how to start foods with our son, that we actually had to make a list of foods. So what were our usual foods we were doing? And then I'm not a big broccoli person, so I had to on purpose start buying broccoli and on purpose start buying some of these things that I didn't really care for, but I wanted him to practice eating the textures and the flavors and get those nutrients. So that modeling is a big piece. And I've also found with our toddler that when he says yucky or he says no, that it's not really about the food. He's kind of just practicing having his own personality and making his own kind of assertive choices. So we keep plating those same foods. We'll give it to him the next day and the next day. And one day he'll eat it and he'll love it and he'll eat it all. And the next day it's on the floor and the dog's got it. But that's kind of how toddler feeding goes.
Yeah, I think it's very important to know with both babies and toddlers that if they make a face, if they say they don't want it, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay that way forever.
So keep plating it.
Giving it.
Oh, yeah.
Just keep offering it. And with toddlers especially, like you said, they do like to assert themselves. So a good way to try and get around some of that picky eating is getting them involved, taking them to the store with you, letting them pick out a new vegetable to try, letting them help out with cooking as much as they can, mixing things up, standing by you at the stove while you're right there so that they can see it cooking and smell it and kind of get used to that idea. And a lot of times they're a little more open to trying something that maybe they didn't want to try if they feel like they had some ownership in it. So empowering children to be able to make choices as well is a really good thing, I think, a really helpful way to overcome some of that resistance.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah, so much for being here today. That was a great episode. And thank you for tuning in and listening today. We want to hear from you. So you can email me at eatwellbewell@mhplan.com. That's for Meridian and Youth Care members. Your email comes right to me. I will take a look at any questions, comments you have, any creative ways you've got your toddlers or your kids into the kitchen, or ways you've expanded the foods you're eating while you've got a toddler around. I'll respond. That email goes right back to you with different resources, tips, tricks, different referrals, and benefits that you might have access to that you just didn't know about. Stay tuned for our next episodes. Until then, be well.